I used to think extra business trips meant extra money. I was half right. They just weren't paying me. My name is Jonas Hartwell, and for 8 years I thought I had the kind of marriage other men envied. Elin was beautiful, supportive, and seemed genuinely happy with our life together. We had our routines: Sunday morning coffee in bed, Friday night movies, occasional dinners out when finances allowed. Nothing spectacular, but solid. The first crack came disguised as opportunity. Mikael Larsson arrived at our consulting firm like a breath of fresh air, all Nordic confidence and ambitious energy. At 38, he was only 3 years older than me, but carried himself like a man destined for corner offices. "Jonas," he said after a staff meeting, "I've been reviewing personnel files. Your client satisfaction scores are impressive." "Thank you, sir," I replied. "Mikael," he corrected with a practiced smile. "I have plans for this division, and I need reliable people I can trust with increased responsibilities." The increased responsibilities came as travel. Lots of travel. Within 2 weeks, I found myself booking flights to Chicago, Denver, Atlanta, anywhere clients needed face-to-face attention. "This is amazing," I told Elin over dinner, showing her the Seattle itinerary. "If this keeps up, we might finally afford that kitchen renovation." Her reaction surprised me. Instead of enthusiasm, she seemed relieved. "That's wonderful, Jonas. You deserve this recognition." She squeezed my hand, and I noticed something different: professionally manicured nails. When had she started going to salons? "New manicure?" I asked. "I thought I should take better care of myself. You're not the only one who can improve." As weeks passed, I noticed other changes. Ellen joined a gym, bought fitted clothes that emphasized her figure, changed to expensive perfume. Where she used to complain about my absences, now she actively encouraged trips. "You should take that extra day in Phoenix," she'd say. "Build those relationships." Her enthusiasm should have made me happy. Instead, it left me uneasy. The strangest part was her knowledge of my schedule. I'd come home planning to mention last-minute trips, only to find her already making arrangements. "I picked up your dry cleaning for Dallas," she'd say before I'd mentioned Dallas. "How did you—" I stammered. "You mentioned it yesterday. Don't you remember?" she replied. But I was certain I hadn't. Mikael had only confirmed the trip that afternoon. 3 months in, I stood booking what Mikael called my most important assignment yet, a week in San Francisco. The commission would cover our mortgage for 3 months. "This could be our breakthrough," I told Elin. "Mikael said if I handle this right, the promotion is practically guaranteed." "That's wonderful." She massaged my shoulders. "When do you leave?" "Monday morning. Gone until Friday, maybe Saturday," I replied. Her hands stilled briefly. "A whole week." "I know. I'm sorry," I stammered. "Don't apologize. This is important. We both have to make sacrifices for our future." She kissed my head and left me to finish booking. As I entered my credit card information, I caught my reflection in the computer screen, tired, older, with new lines around my eyes. I clicked Confirm Purchase. This trip would change everything, Mikael had promised. I had no idea how right he was. The San Francisco crisis turned out to be a software integration problem any IT consultant could have handled remotely. By Tuesday noon, everything was resolved. "Excellent work, Mr. Hartwell," said Patricia, the client's operations director. "Though I'll admit this probably could have been handled with phone calls." I forced a smile while my stomach churned. Sometimes hands-on attention makes the difference. Sitting in my rental car outside their building, the corporate speak felt hollow. This wasn't a week-long crisis. It was barely a day's work. Why had Mikael insisted it was critical? Why specifically request I take the full week through Saturday? My phone buzzed. "Hope everything's going well. Miss you. Don't work too hard. Elin." I stared at the message, remembering her reaction to this trip. She'd seemed eager for me to leave, asking specific questions about my hotel, flight times, evening availability. "Just want to reach you in emergencies," she'd explained. Now those questions felt calculated rather than caring. I called Mikhail's direct line. "Jonas, how's our most important client?" he asked. "Handled. Integration complete, system running smoothly. I could catch a flight back tonight," I replied. Silence stretched too long. "Tonight? What about follow-up meetings? Relationship building?" he asked. "What follow-up meetings? Patricia didn't mention any and technical issues are resolved," I replied. "Well, sometimes situations develop complications. You should stay the full week, just to be safe." Something cold settled in my chest. To be safe. "Exactly. Better prepared," he replied. I ended the call and sat staring at the wheel. In 8 years of consulting, I'd never been asked to stay after jobs finished. It was expensive and unnecessary, unless the point wasn't the client. The drive to my hotel felt like moving through water. Details crashed together. Ellen's new clothes, gym membership, mysterious schedule knowledge, enthusiasm about absences, Mikhail's perfectly timed travel assignments. I called Elin. "Hi, honey." Her voice was bright, breathless. "How did meetings go?" "Good. So good I'm thinking of coming home early," I replied. "Early?" The brightness flickered. "But this is a week-long project." "Plans change. I miss my wife," I replied. "Oh." She paused. "If you think that's best for your career." "My career?" I asked. "You don't want to seem unreliable. Cutting trips short, not following through," she replied. I'd been married to this woman 8 years. I knew every voice inflection, every tell when she was lying. Right now, Aylin was lying. "You're right. I should stick to the original plan," I replied. "Good." Relief was unmistakable. "That's wisest." After hanging up, I sat on the hotel bed, forcing logical thought. Mikhail sent me on frequent trips. Aylin supported these absences. She'd improved her appearance. She knew my schedule early. None was proof, but my gut screamed something was wrong. I changed my flight. The 43-minute drive home passed like a fever dream. I passed our coffee shop first date location, the park where I'd proposed, the intersection where I'd asked her to marry me during a red light. It was 3:17 p.m. Wednesday when I turned onto Maple Street. Everything looked normal. Neat lawns, American flags, the Pattersons' garden gnomes. Mikhail's silver BMW sat in my driveway. I parked across the street, heart hammering. There could be explanations, work emergencies, misunderstandings. But I knew better. I pulled out my phone and started recording. If wrong, I'd delete it. If right, I'd need evidence. The front door was unlocked. I slipped inside like a burglar, every floorboard creak unnaturally loud. The living room showed recent occupation, 2 wine glasses, Elin's shoes by the couch. Voices drifted from upstairs. Elin's laugh, bright and unguarded. Mikhail's rumble making her laugh again. I climbed stairs one at a time, phone recording, my world narrowing to sounds from my bedroom. The door was cracked, afternoon light leaking through. Through that gap, I saw my wife's back, hair spilling over bare shoulders as she moved above a man who wasn't me. Mikhail's hands gripped her waist, wedding ring catching light. "God, I missed this," Elin gasped. "A whole week felt like forever." "Worth the wait," Mikhail replied. "Your husband made it easy, taking that California trip." They laughed, conspirators sharing jokes about fooling me. I stood outside my bedroom door, recording my marriage's death, feeling something fundamental break. Not just my heart, but something deeper. The part that trusted completely, loved without reservation. That man died in the hallway. What emerged was colder, more calculating. Someone who would make them pay. I kicked the door open hard enough to slam it against the wall. They separated like they'd been electrocuted, Aylin scrambling for sheets, Mikhail rolling off the bed. For a frozen moment, we stared, me in the doorway with my recording phone, them naked and tangled in bedding that smelled like betrayal. "Jonas!" Aylin's voice cracked. "You're supposed to be in California." Mikhail found his voice first. Even naked and caught, he tried taking control. "Now, Jonas, I know this looks—" I interrupted him. "Like you're having intimacy with my wife in my house on my bed, because that's exactly what it looks like." "It's not what you think." Aylin wrapped the sheet around herself, tears streaming. "This just happened. It doesn't mean anything." I almost laughed. After months of planning, convenient trips, her new appearance, obvious coordination, she wanted me believing this was spontaneous. "Just happened?" I stepped forward, and Mikhail flinched. "Like all those business trips just happened to coincide with your sudden enthusiasm for my absence?" Mikhail scrambled for clothes. "This is clearly a misunderstanding," he stammered. "The only misunderstanding was thinking you were both smarter than you are." I kept recording as he struggled into pants. "Tell me, Mikhail, how many other husbands have you sent on convenient business trips?" His face paled. "I don't know what you're implying." "I'm stating directly, you're a predator who manipulates employees to pursue their wives," I roared. "That's ridiculous. You're upset, not thinking clearly." I moved faster than planned. One moment by the door, next I had him by the throat against the wall, feet barely touching floor. 8 years of gym membership suddenly paid dividends. "Jonas, stop!" Aylin screamed. "Here's what happens," I said quietly, face inches from his. "You get dressed, walk out, and never set foot on my property again. Because if I see you here again, I won't be as reasonable." I released him and he stumbled, gasping. His confident mask slipped completely, revealing the coward underneath. He grabbed clothes without looking at Aylin. I followed downstairs, phone recording, and opened the front door. "Don't forget your keys." He fumbled for them, hands shaking. As he reached for the handle, I grabbed his wrist. "One more thing." I smiled and he flinched. "You should update your resume." I slammed the door and turned to find Ellen at the stairs, wrapped in our sheets. "Jonas, please, let me explain." "Explain what? How you've been planning this for months? Lying to my face daily?" I asked. She descended slowly, tears streaming. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Feelings developed." "Feelings." I stopped recording. "Is that what you call systematically deceiving your husband?" "I never meant to hurt you," he pleaded. "But you did anyway." I walked to the kitchen. She followed, clutching the sheet. "It was a mistake. We can work through this. Go to counseling." I cut her off. "Work through this?" I faced her, and she stepped back at my expression. "Aylin, you didn't slip and fall onto another man's dick. You planned this. You coordinated affairs around my schedule. You've been living a double life." "People make mistakes," she pleaded. "When have I cheated on you? When have I lied? When have I betrayed every promise I made?" She couldn't answer because we both knew the truth. 8 years of faithfulness, honesty, commitment. I'd worked extra hours providing for us, taken additional responsibilities building our future, trusted completely. She'd used that trust as a weapon. "I'm staying in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer." "Jonas, no! We can fix this," she once again pleaded. But I was already walking away, pulling out my phone for the first of many calls that would dismantle our life together. Some betrayals cut so deep they sever trust permanently. Closing the guest room door, I realized I didn't want to fix this. I wanted to burn it down and build something better from ashes, starting with making them both pay. Sarah Mitchell's office occupied the 32nd floor downtown, all glass and chrome with views that reminded you money could buy almost anything, including justice. Mr. Hartwell. She extended a manicured hand. David Kowalski speaks highly of you. Sarah was exactly what Dave promised. Sharp, well-dressed, radiating confidence from winning battles other lawyers wouldn't take. I understand you have documentation. I placed my phone on her desk. Video evidence of my wife committing adultery with my supervisor, recorded 3 days ago in our home. She watched without flinching, making notes. When finished, she leaned back. Excellent evidence. Clear adultery, premeditation evident from their conversation. This puts you in very strong position. She tapped her pen. Tell me about assets. House jointly owned, mortgage nearly paid, joint accounts roughly $40,000, my 401k, her smaller retirement, both cars paid for, I replied. Children? She asked. No, I replied. Good. Simplifies things. More notes. Employment situation? She asked. I explained Mikhail's supervisory position, suspicious travel schedule, my certainty this affair was orchestrated around my absences. Sarah's pen stopped. Your supervisor manipulated your work schedule to facilitate an affair with your wife. That's my belief, I replied. Can you prove it? She asked. I produced the folder I'd assembled the previous evening. Travel schedules for 4 months. Notice they increased significantly after Mikhail's arrival. I documented how my wife knew trip changes before I mentioned them. She reviewed papers, eyebrows rising. This suggests coordinated deception. Potentially, abuse of supervisory authority for personal gain. Meaning? I asked. Your supervisor may have committed sexual harassment by manipulating your employment to facilitate his affair. That's actionable civilly and through HR. I felt something cold settle. What would that involve? I asked. Formal HR complaint, supported by evidence. If the company has sense, they'll terminate him immediately. You could pursue civil suit for intentional infliction of emotional distress. And divorce? I asked. With adultery evidence, particularly premeditated, we pursue fault-based divorce. That typically means the unfaithful spouse receives significantly less in asset division. Given systematic deception and her affair partner manipulating your employment, I believe we can argue for minimal alimony. How minimal? I asked. Potentially none. Your wife broke the marriage contract through adultery. She doesn't deserve profiting from betrayal. For the first time in 3 days, I smiled. When do we start? Within 24 hours, Sarah filed divorce papers citing adultery and began asset protection. Within 48, I sat across from Jennifer Walsh, our HR director, watching her face pale as she reviewed evidence. Mr. Hartwell, this is extremely serious. If accurate, Mr. Larson violated multiple policies and potentially laws. The evidence speaks for itself, I replied. She reviewed the video again, clearly uncomfortable but professional. The relationship itself, while inappropriate given supervisory dynamics, isn't necessarily actionable. However, if Mr. Larson manipulated your schedule to facilitate this, that constitutes abuse of authority and sexual harassment. The company's position? I asked. We'll investigate fully, but based on preliminary evidence, she sighed heavily. Mr. Larson will be suspended pending investigation this afternoon. What about my position? I asked. You'll report directly to regional management until resolved. And Mr. Hartwell, document any retaliation attempts. We take these matters seriously. That evening in my hotel room, I called Dave. How's the war going? He asked. Mikhail's suspended. Investigation starts tomorrow. Sarah filed divorce papers this morning. Jesus, you move fast when motivated, he replied. I had good motivation. The next morning brought news that Mikhail's suspension became termination. Jennifer called personally. Investigation revealed a pattern. You weren't the first employee whose travel Mr. Larson manipulated for personal reasons. We discovered at least 2 similar situations. Other married men? I asked. I can't provide specifics, but yes. We're terminating Mr. Larson immediately with no severance beyond mandated final pay. I immediately called Sarah. Excellent news. This strengthens our position considerably. The investigation validates claims about systematic deception and authority abuse. What's next? I asked. Deposition with your wife's attorney next week. Given evidence and company findings, I expect they'll push for settlement rather than trial. What kind of settlement? I asked. The kind where you keep the house, savings, and dignity while she explains to her family why her marriage ended. That afternoon, unknown number called. Jonas? It's Mikael. I almost hung up, then decided I wanted to hear this. I know you're angry. I'm past angry, Mikael. I'm pleased, I replied. Pleased? He asked, confused. With how efficiently this is working. Your termination, divorce proceedings, the civil suit my attorney is preparing, I replied. Silence. Civil suit? He asked, confused. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Abuse of supervisory authority. Sarah thinks we have excellent grounds, especially now that investigation confirmed you've done this before. Jonas, listen. He started, but I cut him off. No, you listen. You thought you were clever, manipulating my schedule to have my wife. You thought I was some naive husband who'd never figure it out. You were wrong. It doesn't have to be like this, he pleaded. We already worked things out. You're unemployed, your reputation destroyed, and your wife left when she found out about your affair pattern. I'd say we worked things out perfectly. I hung up, and for the first time since finding them together, felt genuinely happy. Scorched earth was working exactly as planned. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of my house, legally mine according to the divorce decree, making coffee in morning silence. The walls no longer held pictures of Elin and me. The bedroom was completely redecorated. Everything reminding me of our shared life had been removed, donated, or burned. The financial settlement exceeded even Sarah's projections. Elin received nothing, no alimony, no house share, minimal savings split for basic legal requirements. The judge was particularly unsympathetic to her tearful pleas about making a mistake. Actions have consequences, Mrs. Hartwell, Judge Morrison had said. You chose to violate marriage vows through premeditated adultery. The court sees no reason you should profit from that betrayal. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Hartwell? Marcus Blake with Precision Consulting Group. Familiar name, a major competitor. What can I do for you? I asked. We've been following recent industry developments, particularly talent opportunities. Would you be interested in discussing a senior consulting position? Interesting. Mikael's termination and surrounding scandal had reached the broader consulting community. What kind of position? I asked. Regional Director, West Coast Operations, significant salary increase, full relocation package if desired, complete autonomy over your client portfolio. Perfect irony. Mikael's attempt to advance his career by manipulating mine ultimately led to me being offered his dream job with a better company. I'd be interested in hearing more. After hanging up, I walked through the house that was entirely mine. Guest room became home office. Living room reflected my tastes rather than compromises. Everything clean, organized, peaceful. My phone buzzed with unknown number text. Jonas, it's Elin. I know you blocked my other numbers, but please read this. Curiosity 1. I've been working 2 jobs to pay rent. Living in a studio apartment. I know I deserve this, but I want you to know I'm genuinely sorry. Not because of consequences, but because I genuinely loved you and threw it away for something that wasn't real. I hope you find happiness. I read twice, waiting for emotional response. Satisfaction, anger, even pity. Instead, nothing. The woman who'd sent this was a stranger. The Elin I'd loved probably never existed. I deleted the message and blocked the number. That evening, I had dinner with Dave and Linda at their favorite restaurant. Sarah joined us. Apparently, they'd been conspiring to introduce me to eligible women. "You look good," Linda said over dessert. "Healthier than I've seen you in years." "I feel good. Different, but good," I replied. "Different how?" Sarah asked. "More careful, less trusting, but also more confident in my judgment," I replied. "That's not necessarily bad," Sarah said. "Trust should be earned, not assumed." "What about dating?" Linda asked casually. "Ready to get back out there?" "Eventually, when I meet someone worth the risk." The following week, I started at Precision Consulting Group. Salary 40% higher. Office with city view. Direct reporting to company president. No manipulative supervisors. During my first staff meeting, I was introduced to the West Coast team. Accomplished professionals, clear communication, transparent processes. Everything missing from my previous workplace. "We're excited to have you, Jonas," Marcus Blake said afterward. "Your reputation for client satisfaction and ethical practices is exactly what we're looking for." Ethical practices. Nice to work somewhere valuing that. That evening, I treated myself to expensive steakhouse dinner. While waiting, I spotted Mikhail at the bar, nursing what appeared to be his fourth drink. He looked older, worn down, defeated. Our eyes met. He raised his glass in mock toast, smile bitter. I nodded acknowledgement and turned away. Whatever satisfaction I might have felt at his decline had faded. He was irrelevant now. "Mr. Hartwell, your table is ready." I followed the hostess to a quiet corner, ordered wine and salmon, pulled out my phone to review emails. Normal, professional emails about legitimate business. No hidden agendas, manipulation, deception. The wine was excellent. Salmon prepared perfectly. I had nowhere to be except home to my peaceful house and my own company. For the first time in months, I raised my glass in genuine toast, to new foundations built on old betrayal's ruins, to the man I'd become rather than who I'd been, and to the future I was building entirely on my own terms. Some people destroy your life given the chance, but they can only truly win if you let that destruction define you permanently. I refused to be defined by what they'd done. Instead, I'd be defined by how I'd fought back, rebuilt, and emerged stronger. The best revenge wasn't just destroying enemies. It was building something better from the ashes they created. 6 months later, I found the last box of photographs while cleaning out the basement. Wedding pictures, vacation snapshots, 8 years of documented lies disguised as happiness. Instead of anger, I felt only detachment. The man in those pictures seemed like someone I'd known briefly, naive, trusting, unprepared for reality, not someone I particularly missed being. I carried the box to my backyard fire pit and fed the photographs to the flames one by one. Our honeymoon in Maui, Christmas mornings, the day we'd bought this house. Each image curled and blackened, releasing me from the last vestiges of a life built on deception. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca, the marketing director I'd been dating for 3 months. "Dinner tonight?" Rebecca understood why I moved carefully now, why I asked direct questions instead of making assumptions. She called it healthy skepticism rather than paranoia, which I appreciated. The fire died to embers as the sun set. Tomorrow I'd rake the ashes into the garden where they'd fertilize something new. Tonight, I'd take Rebecca to dinner and enjoy the company of someone who understood that relationships worked best when both people chose honesty. Mikhail was unemployed, his reputation destroyed. Aylin worked 2 jobs to afford a studio apartment. I was expanding my consulting practice, dating an honest woman, and sleeping peacefully in a house I owned outright. Some betrayals change your fundamental nature, not necessarily for worse, but definitely forever. They'd tried to destroy my life and instead forced me to build a better one. That made me the clear winner. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.